That letter, essentially, to Kanye West that I wrote, I think it still stands, really, because in light of the 6-month ban, which is what the ETA block does, here's what I'd say he should do. I'll address him directly. Here's what I say you, Kanye, should do with your 6-month ban. In those 6 months, I think you should educate yourself. Take the time to educate yourself and to really show and demonstrate to Jewish people in particular that you understand what you said and did. Not just that it was wrong, but its impact and how shaming and disgraceful it is. You're going to have to reveal somehow in your actions and your words, the things you choose to do, that you understand it. And here are my suggestions as to how you might do that. I think really practical suggestions now. Watch Simon Sharma's The Story of the Jews, which covers the span of Jewish history, almost to present day, not quite post-October the 7th, but almost. It looks at the forced, because the history of it, the history of anti-Semitism, the span of it, the arc of it, will tell you probably all you need to know. Repeated experience of being scapegoated, forced exile, whether that's ancient Rome and before then, to Enlightenment Europe, kicked out of countries left, right and centre, scapegoating, both from this country included, to the ultimate expression of Jew hate, of course, the Holocaust. Go to Auschwitz, listen to survivors, cry with them, cry for them, show that you feel it. And from your own culture, Kanye, from your own culture in America, Schindler's List, The Reader, Sophie's Choice, Zone of Interest, I could name endless dramatisations of Jew hate and its impacts that you could look at. Maybe you've seen them, maybe they washed over you, I don't know. Watch the footage from Bergen-Belsen when it was liberated by the Allies. Allies whose leaders suppressed much of the imagery from Bergen-Belsen because they thought it would make a peace deal with the Germans after the war, an accommodation with the Germans after the war, impossible if the general population saw what they had filmed in Bergen-Belsen when they liberated it. I only saw that footage, or some of that footage, 10 years ago. And I thought I couldn't be shocked anymore by concentration camp images. But I was shaken to my core watching those images, and I understood why the Allied leaders decided that for the sake of rebuilding the peace, some of that footage should be held back, not forever, and it shouldn't be held back forever, and it isn't. There was a documentary 10 years ago that I watched on Channel 5 which included some of it, not all of it. You could watch Shoah, a long, arduous 10-hour documentary. I watched it in 3 sittings, which reveals, and this one really relates to Kanye West. It reveals how ordinary day-to-day Jew hatred by ordinary day-to-day people leads to extraordinary evil. If you think it's just a T-shirt, it's just a rapper saying something stupid, it's just a mistake because of a mental illness, even that, it's not. It doesn't stay in the mouth of the person who said it. It doesn't stay, particularly these days, in the room in which it was said. Jew hatred goes viral very quickly. It did in the Middle Ages, and it goes even faster now, for sure. And that he could watch, because that contains people like him thinking that loose Jew hatred in your speech isn't important. And it is important because it leads to the road to Auschwitz. Maybe visit the family of Matilda, the 10-year-old Ukrainian-Australian girl shot dead by Islamist terrorists in Bondi. Explain your mistaken language to them, Kanye, and convince them that you see it differently and understand the error of your ways. If you convince them, you've convinced me. If you convince them, you convince me, and I'll buy a ticket to see you at Wireless or wherever you appear in the UK. But I think it'll take some convincing. Speak to survivors of the Nova Festival who were raped, massacred, traumatised the rest of their lives. Speak to Yardin Bibas, whose babies and wife were murdered in cold blood in Gaza. Speak to him and explain your words to him. Convince him that you understand the gravity of what you said. Then I might buy a ticket to your performances. Or Shani Luke, her family, speak to them. Shani Luke was the young woman. The first picture I saw of the outcome of October the 7th was Shani Luke's dead, broken body in the back of a truck, still being desecrated as she was dead and being dragged into Gaza. Speak to her family. Speak to her family. And then I might be convinced to buy a ticket to your festival appearance, wherever and whenever it happens. I can tell you now that the Wireless Festival itself has been cancelled. Let's talk. 217. Hello, Kim.
Yeah, hi. Firstly, I do agree with Robin, a lot of what he said, your first caller. Secondly, I wish I was really surprised at this, but I'm not. A black man with a mental illness apologizes. That's not accepted. A white man who calls 2 black presenters the N-word several times at the BAFTAs because of his illness, Tourette's, His apology
Different
is
illness,
accepted.
just to be clear.
Yeah, but they are still illnesses. Yes, a different illness, but still illnesses.
And not accepted by everybody, just so you know,
I've
Kim.
had somebody with bipolar in my family who was the nicest, most gentle, nicest, most gentle person. And when she was having a manic episode, and sometimes had to be sectioned, she said the most horrendous things.
Can I ask
her
you?
attitude. So, but before Sheila, because I know that I'm not going to change your mind, so I just
you don't have to, and I don't have to change yours.
To put my thing forward.
Yeah.
Because yes, of course they are different. Tourette's is some sort of neurological tic, but why has John Davidson used the N-word repeatedly? I watched the film Swear. That was about his life, and there was a lawyer portrayed in there who had said, yes, unfortunately, a black lawyer, he does use that word rather a lot.
Can I ask you something, Kim? If I understand Tourette's correctly, it is a moment. It's not a moment. It's a full-time illness when you've got it. But what we saw at the BAFTAs was a moment. What Kanye West has done, and I'm not denying the mental illness that he has, what Kanye West has done over a period of 5 years is really like, if you write a song, book a studio, book producers, sit in that studio for days, presumably, possibly even weeks to produce it, then market it, then sell it. That's not a moment, is it? It's a rather sustained intention.
Because, as you said, agreed at the start, it's a different illness, and there was
nobody around him to stop that.
A manic. Well, we're talking about Kanye West, aren't we?
We are. But
okay,
listen,
fine.
You've got to let me speak at some point, Kim. We are talking about Kanye.
Sheila, I mean, really.
We are. You literally interrupt me every time I try to have a conversation with you.
Oh, come on now.
You are.
Oh, please.
Listen, I get your point. I'm not going to try and agree with you.
I'm glad you do.
Of course I do. I'm just putting some other ideas to you, and every time I do...
let me hear them out then, and please let me reply.
Of course I will. That's how I have conversations, Kim.
I listen to you every day. You don't. Anyway, let's go.
Well, very quickly... What I'm saying is there was a sustained intention there to do this, to put that record out. Well, there you go. There's my case's point. My case is proved. Just you can't blow at me like a horse just because you disagree with me, Kim. It's 2:32. Let's get some headlines. Continue with your calls.